Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Packers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Rusty Valentine in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers as we are entering this glorious Saturday morning here on February 15th. Hopefully you fellas are doing well this morning. How are we? I know Tim's dealing with some snow up there, and you probably are too, Jacob.
Yeah, not too much. I probably got, 5 or 6 inches last night. What about you, Tim?
A lot more.
Did you really?
Yeah, and it's still snowing. Okay. And it's going to stop for a little bit, and then it's going to continue to snow again. So
there you go.
It's gonna get that workout in today, boys.
We got a little bit blowing in, I think, on Thursday. Right now, it's just a real cold rain, man. Real cold rain. So Drew D says in Green Bay, says our snow is very, very fluffy here. I love it. There you
go. The fluffy stuff.
Got the fluffy snow the day after Valentine's Day. Doesn't get any better than that. So anything you guys want to lead off with before we jump into a bunch of topics I got here, man? Anything on the forefront of your mind?
I don't know. Later, if we have time, I don't know. I can't remember if I sent you that link, but they brought up 5 underrated, basically cheap guys that the Packers could bring in this year. And I had not seen any of those names except for maybe one of them ever linked to the Packers. So
Jacob's like, you had me at cheap.
Basically, yeah.
Yep. We're going to get into a little bit of free agent talk here in a second. So when we get to that point, Jacob, can you have access to it where you can just list the names? Is that
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. We ain't got to put it on the screen, but we'll just kind of list it off. But let's start off on Twitter. I thought this was cool that the Packers X account was showing some love to Carrington Valentine here on this interception against Seattle, where he broke off of his curl flat responsibility there. Actually, he might have been in man coverage on that play, but they just said, here's a Valentine for you. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, gang. I think Carrington Valentine people were sleeping on him. It really feels that way. Listen, not to the level of an Edgerrin Cooper or someone like that, but I think he's a dude that's proven he's a starting cornerback, Now, will he be great? I don't know. Last year, I felt like he was good, maybe even very good when you compare him across the board. Like we had pointed out, his passer rating allowed was only 69. Jair's was 77.6. And his yards per attempt or yards per target allowed was 8.7. I just thought it was cool. We've been talking about this the last few days, and lo and behold, the Packers throw a quick appreciation video up here, Carrington Valentine. Anything you guys want to add to Carrington or the cornerback room in general? There was also some rumors I've seen flying here that I think it was Aaron Rodgers, who hangs out here on the show, had sent me on Twitter. No, it wasn't. Actually, it was not him. I apologize. It was another guy, Green Bay. I can't remember the name right off the bat. But they had mentioned that he had heard in a Facebook group that a deal was already being restructured with Jair Alexander. Now, again, when he shared the screen grab, and I'm sure he would agree, it looks like anybody could have made this up in their mama's basement, right, on the grab. But we kind of talked about it from the get-go with Jai, that to me, if he stays, they're definitely going to restructure. And that doesn't mean necessarily a pay cut. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give him more money. It's usually right in between. You're freeing up that cap space. But what do you guys think about the cornerback room and specifically Carrington Valentine here, man?
I love CV, man. I would just love it if he would take a knee when he picks a guy off in the end zone, scaring the living crap out of all of us running that ball out. But no, I think he's one of those guys to me that is he's proven that he can start. I don't know if you want him to be your CB1. I think he's a good CB2, and I would love to see him out there opposite of Jair, kind of like you were saying the other night. Even in a scenario where you let him and Keyshawn battle it out. For who's going to get that boundary spot. And then, we just shore up the slot. And I think we're in business. If we have some depth behind Bullard, I think the whole secondary as a whole starts to look a lot better. Obviously, we'll see what happens once they move on from Eric Stokes, right?
I personally really like the progress of Carrington Valentine. I saw that. Prince Capsaicin, he says, lots of janky Packer pages on Facebook. My mom is constantly checking with me on some of the ridiculous stuff she read on there. Hey, I think that is one of my mother, I don't know how she has a TikTok. She found Twitter. She's got Instagram. She'll send me some of the dumbest articles. And she's like, have you heard about this? I'm like, please turn it off, Mom. Come on.
Stay off the interwebs.
Exactly.
It kind of goes hand in hand too. Mandy's mom is always sending me articles, political articles, and I'm her filter. She goes, Clayton, is this real or is this fake? And I usually have a pretty good idea of, yeah, that's a bunch of BS there. They're just making.
But anyway, to circle back to Carrington, I love, you guys know that late round draft guy, kind of an underdog, definitely had a chip on his shoulder coming into the NFL. And like Tim said, the dude's he's just performed. He's scrapped. He's gotten better. We've seen the progression. And kind of, I agree. Let's throw him out CB2. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with Jair. I don't think anybody quite does at this point. But I agree with Tim. Have him and Keyshawn battle. Maybe take another late round draft pick. Throw him in the mix. What about King? Has anybody heard anything about King? And if he's
Kalen King, no.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that he would maybe splash a little bit more in that initial season, but it seems like they completely put him on the back burner. So who knows?
I'm wondering with Kalen King if it's just processing the game at the NFL level. Maybe he was just struggling with X's and O's kind of stuff at that level. I don't know, because I think athletically he's awesome. I just don't know if they feel like he's ready. So maybe year 2 he takes a step forward.
Yeah, for sure, man. When it comes to Kalen King, I kind of feel like he's going to be like that new Corey Valentine or Robert Rochelle type player that's going to get called up from time to time. Now, who knows? Maybe he'll come out in camp and turn heads and be the next Tramon Williams, right? I hope that's the case.
What about do we still have Fred McFarley saying Haddon? Was that Kamal Haddon, if I remember correctly? Is he still on the roster?
Best of my knowledge, yeah.
That's a good point then, Fred. I kind of like that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, and I disagree, I believe, on Haddon being a better prospect than King, or maybe it was just the residual effect of the fact that Kalen King was so high the year before. Let me see if I can find them both here on my board. Kalen King. So I had Kalen King with a 148.1, and then I had Kamal Haddon significantly lower at a 278.6. So I was definitely much higher on Kalen King than I was Kamal Haddon. But
was Haddon a Tennessee Vol? Is that, if I remember correctly? Okay,
that's correct. Yeah. And again, when they picked him up, I remember, I want to say that wasn't he a fairly high? I don't want to say high draft pick, but it was kind of surprising that the Chiefs cut him. Of course, if there was a team that was going to cut him.
That's what I remember thinking as well.
He was the best guy around.
Let's see your draft.
I don't know why, but out of all your drops, I find myself saying that to myself a lot. Like when I'm at work, I'll just randomly, he's the best guy around.
What murder?
You understand what I'm saying?
The Chiefs took him at pick 211. And again, the cool thing about our board is it kind of is set to where the grade itself, it's not exactly accurate, but it kind of gives you a roundabout of, they're worthy of that pick range. And like I said, me having him in the 270s, that shows that the Chiefs were higher on him than I was for sure. So, and obviously the Packers were much lower and the rest of the league were much lower on Kalen King than I was as well, because he makes it to the 7th round, as where we had him, up there a little higher. So there you go. But 43 spots before King by the Chiefs. There you go. Cool. Good deal. Thank you for that, Prince. All right. Next thing on the docket, a couple more prospects, I guess you could say. East West Shrine Bowl put this out. Max acceleration from defensive players from the 2025 East West Shrine Bowl. This was per Zebra Technology. I guess they had those guys GPSed up. And this is what it was. Shiloh Sanders, it looks as if he was the fastest in terms of max acceleration. And I believe the way this metric is used here, Deion's son covered 6.39 yards per second, it looked like. Behind him was Mike Smith at 6.26 yards per second, which is, I want to say Mike Smith. Now, he's a corner as well. And then Deshaun Pace, he was out of EKU, by the way. Mike Smith was. And then UCF's Deshaun pace at 5.89 yards per second. So, listen, Shiloh wearing 21 just like his dad did. Obviously, Shador, a much higher prospect, but Shiloh's one of those guys that sounds like he's got some of his dad's athletic ability in terms of quickness. So, since we were kind of talking Carrington and other corners, just want to keep an eye on that. I love that they do these GPS trackers and things like that, though. That's really cool. So, Shiloh, and I don't even know where we got him on the board. I had my board sorted by the interest that the Packers were showing with certain prospects. But let me see if I can find him real quick. I want to know exactly where he is on our board because I'm thinking he is significantly lower. Let's see, Shiloh. Yeah, we've got him in the 410 spot. So 552 was his 22 ranking at corner. In 2023, he was 209. In 2024, he dropped all the way down to 576. So PFF grades brung him way down. The PFF big board had him at 197. The consensus big board had him at 331. And obviously, he hasn't made DJ's 33rd teams and Kyle Krabs and Dane Brugler's top 100. Not even sniffed it. So we got him significantly lower. It's mainly because of the PFF grades. So there you go. Moving along, next thing here on Twitter, on X. I thought this was really cool.
Oh, yes. Let's do this. I saw this on your feed.
Yeah,
Is
man.
this the Greg Cosell one?
Yeah. We were talking about obviously, Sterling Sharpe getting into the NFL, right? Or the NFL Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I always want to call it the NFL Hall of Fame. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame thing.
He was the best guy around.
So Greg Cosell, you guys know I have a lot of respect for. If it had been anybody else saying this, I'm not going to lie, I would have kind of, I don't want to say rolled my eyes, but I'd been like, boy, that's kind of a hot take. But the fact that Greg Cosell said it had me going, and maybe it's true. Listen to what Greg Cosell had to say about Sterling Sharpe, who obviously just got into the Hall of Fame.
I'm kind of glad Sterling Sharpe made it. And, it's funny. I've talked to people over the years, okay? And this is not me saying it, so I don't want people to start ripping me, But I've had –
Sounds like me, don't it? Hey, I'm not saying it. It's what they're saying.
People
I'll
tell
put that
me,
name in my mouth.
I'm not talking about, like friends, coaches who coached in the league, that many, when I say many, 5 or 6, thought that Sterling Sharpe, if his career was not cut short, was a better receiver than Jerry Rice. And I've had people tell me that. So, I'm just so glad he got in. I got to know him when he used to come to NFL Films all the time. Incredibly intelligent guy about the position.
So obviously, listen, that's going to be a hot take with a lot of people, especially 49er fans. If you made me choose which one was better, Sterling Sharpe, and just going strictly off of what they did on the field, forget the fact that Sterling's career was cut short with injury, I've still got to choose Jerry Rice because you can't get all of those years out of your mind of where he just absolutely dominated. But, man, the fact that he said 5 or 6 coaches that he trusts said to him Sterling Sharpe was better than Jerry Rice, it's hard not to take that serious, man. That's high praise. And Greg would not say it if he didn't think there was some merit to it with the specific coaches that said that to him. What do you guys think?
His receiving is tough.
Rice had some time with Montana, didn't he? He split between Montana and then with Steve.
Montana, yeah.
So, it's hard to argue that there's anybody better in the NFL to be throwing you any type of ball. I'd argue maybe the prime 90s Brett Favre. That's for sure. You go back and you just see him do that deep release where he just chucks that thing. And I swear there's it's hilarious how much of a gap that Sterling had though on his defenders. You know what I mean? It made Brett's job so easy. He just would chuck that thing. And Sterling would be 10 yards past the next defender. You know what I mean? He did seem like he had that big play ability, the yak, strong body, good shore hands. He was, in my opinion, can you say that Sterling Sharpe was the best wide receiver in the modern era? That's tough, man.
It is. It's tough for me to say that. It really is. Because, again, that long body of work matters,
Right.
It really does.
I think when you look at Sterling Sharpe, I think the one edge he had over Jerry Rice is kind of like what you just described there, Jacob, the body type. He's a bigger body receiver. And for him to be able to move the way he did and to have do it with a little bit of grace and not just be a big, rumbler and stumbler type of guy. He was full control. And obviously, like the king of the contested catch. I mean, if that ball was anywhere near him, he was coming down with it. And which you kind of need a guy like that when you got Brett Favre, humming that tater, down the field. So I think you're right, though. You can't argue with Jerry Rice's body of work. And I think when you talk about Jerry Rice, a lot of people forget that he struggled when he came into the league.
He did.
He struggled his rookie year, and kind of took him a while to get his NFL, legs under him. And then, of course, the rest is history. But I definitely think if Sterling played another, 5 to 6 seasons or something, we'd be having a different conversation in this debate. So I think it's fair to at least compare the two. He certainly belongs in that conversation. But Jerry Rice is the GOAT. I mean, we got to give it to Jerry Rice. But congrats to Sterling for being where he belongs. Finally, I cannot wait for the enshrinement in July. It's going to be awesome.
I wonder if somebody in the chat, if you guys are bored, if we could compare Sterling's best 3 seasons and Jerry Rice's best 3 seasons, and maybe just look at that, and that'd be kind of interesting. Again, you don't have to, but if you're bored in the chat and you want to pull it up, we like numbers here.
Yeah, Fred McFarley said 1 game to win tomorrow, Rice or Sharpe in their prime. I take Sharpe, is what Fred said. Again, man, I'm such a nerd from a sense of, all right, what did they actually do? Jerry Rice has a lot of Super Bowl rings, boys, a lot of them, and Sterling doesn't have one. And again, Super Bowl, rings, Super Bowl, championships are not a receiving statistic. I completely agree and understand that. It's just, I can't get over the fact that Rice is hands down the greatest receiver to ever play the game. That's maybe I've heard it so much, I don't know. And maybe it's me falling in love with the game of football in the 90s when he just was so dominant, the late 80s all the way through the 90s. Hell, he played into the 2000s as well, right? It's just amazing how long he played. So, but yeah, if you're talking about who was stronger, who was faster, probably Sterling, right? Not even probably.
Check out what Holmes MD says. He says Sterling was super strong, man. I don't think people know how strong he really was. He benched 400 pounds. I saw him do it. That's insane. I seen it. Yeah, let's see here. Aaron Rodgers says, I sent an article about Roseman on how it's similar to Goot slander as well. Got you, Aaron. Yeah, I remember you sending that, man. I'm trying to get to everything. Obviously we're prioritizing the Patreon group for those guys and gals over there that's supporting the show in that regard. But my Twitter's blowing up, like DMs flying out. Yeah, what about this? What about that? What about that? And I am a little overwhelmed, but I wouldn't doubt one bit that Howie Roseman got slandered in Philly. They were ready to run everybody out. They were ready to run Sirianni out of town. That dude's got a higher winning percentage than Matt LaFleur, who we pointed out all year long is like top 10, pretty much top 10 all time in winning percentage. So I wouldn't doubt that they're trying to run Howie Roseman out of there too. I did see he got cracked in the head with a daddy soda. Did you see that, Tim? Catch that?
What?
Oh my God, Tim, you didn't see this? So, they had their parade. The fans are always throwing beers.
Oh, yeah. That's typical Philly, right? You can't tell if they're happy or pissed off. You never know.
All of a sudden, I seen a picture of Howie, man, and he's got this big half oval, and it's cut. And I'm like, what happened to him? Somebody hit him. They hit him with a beer.
They hit him with a
beer. Oh my God, bro. I was cracking up. Now I don't think there's video evidence of it actually hitting. All you see is Howie walking around smoking a cigar with a big cut on his forehead. So,
yeah, I think the most Philly thing that I saw after the Super Bowl was, did you see the video of the guy that just set up he had a little single burner, and they were on Broad Street, and he just made a cheesesteak right in the middle of Broad Street.
Oh, man, that's my kind of party right there.
I know, I love it.
Yeah, Jay Cole in the chat says, my dad has said that if he didn't get injured, he would be mentioned with Jerry Rice. So even the way that that's worded right there, it kind of makes me like, it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, Sterling Sharpe better than Jerry Rice. You know what I'm saying? Like he would be mentioned with him as opposed to better than him, right? Drew D says Sterling Sharpe was a high flyer in a way Jerry Rice could only dream of. There you go. So kind of talking about that athletic ability, obviously. And he goes on to say Sterling Sharpe also had one of the most famous plays in NFL history, spiking the ball before the end zone in that snow game. You guys remember that?
He got on it, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he fixed the problem, right?
Yeah, he fixed it.
It's hilarious that he scored in enough time that it was like, oh, yeah, well, crap, let me pick the ball back up and go ahead and get this touchdown here. So. But yeah, I mean, Sterling, it's just, I'm just so glad he's in the Hall. It's absolutely awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, as Holmes said, he would run your ass over as well.
Yes.
Right? So, for sure, man. What is this? J. Cole says, I guess he's talking about Eagle fans. They stole a garbage truck on the night of the Super Bowl.
Normal. That's pretty normal.
Philly fans, their quote, like, if we lose, we're going to burn the city to the ground. If we win, we're going to burn the city to the ground. All right.
Ron Sample says the guy in the Eagle costume is just now waking up on the sidewalk. All right, let's move it along. Another prospect that's got a lot of attention here of late, mainly because of Daniel Jeremiah. I want to give a shout out to Andy on X, one of the best draft follows at CU Andy with an extra Y at the end. Said Joshua Farmer is one of the most complete defensive tackles in the 2025 draft. Really good first step against the pass and against the run. He's very solid as well. He went on to say provides value on every down. One of my favorite in a really good defensive tackle class. And we've talked about this, man. Defensive tackle is very interesting in this draft. But you see here, he's kind of lined up in what we would call a 1, I'm assuming. Let's see here. Let's take it back and just make sure. Yeah, it's a 2 tag. So that's about as close to a 1 as you can get. Some may say he's shading the inside shoulder there of the guard. But that's what we're talking about. Like right here would have been your 3 tag, right? And he would have been the 1. So maybe Josh Farmer's that dude that if we don't bring back TJ Slayton, maybe he's the guy that the Packers could potentially draft and bring in. What do y'all think about Josh Farmer? Any opinion on him before we move forward?
Yeah, don't look at PFF. PFF's got him at a 63.5. They've got him as the 557th best defensive lineman in the draft. So PFF is not drinking the Kool-Aid on him at all. But I think that's what's so cool about it, though, right? We can see with our own eyes and look at some tape and, get some other opinions. And he could be one of those, mid-round pickups for us if we don't, in fact, take a D lineman early,
Yeah. And I've got him in the 191 spot. Now, there's a big difference in opinion across the board. Like you said, Tim, positional ranking in 2022, 318th. In 23, 760th. In 24, 571st. But the PFF Big Board somehow, some way had him as 124th best prospect at the time. He may be higher now. The consensus Big Board had him at 189. Daniel Jeremiah said he was just unbelievable at the Senior Bowl. He's got him. Daniel Jeremiah has him at number 39 in the entire draft.
Wow.
And Dane Brugler has him at 88. Kyle Krabs had him outside of his top 100 pre-Senior Bowl information there. Jacob, what do you think about a prospect like that? I know you're big on the PFF grades when it's kind of identifying some of the late round gems. PFF hated this dude. They hated him enough to say that he was the 571st best defensive tackle in all of college football, but somehow, some ways, the 121st best or 4th best prospect.
Yeah, it's a little hard to understand that rationale there. Prince makes I think a good point. Says Farmer would be higher if it wasn't such a deep D tackle class. And then Drew D said earlier that I highlighted, people are all over the place on Farmer, which you just obviously highlighted there, reaching as high as, what did you say, 39? Daniel Jeremiah?
Yeah, 39, I believe is where he's got him. Yeah,
I mean, I trust a guy like Daniel, obviously, and his perspective. And you can see, like Tim said on film, I mean, he's got the tools. He's a Florida State guy, right? That's
correct. Yeah.
So, he's played high caliber people, high caliber talent. I personally I love TJ Slayton. I still got his back, so I want him to maybe be brought back as a priority. But if you could pepper in some up and coming young talent that maybe are a project type player, you know what I mean? So if we had that Slayton buffer and give him a year or two to get his feet underneath him, that being Farmer. So I'm interested in the player. Just obviously, if we could get him, the later we could get him, the better, in my opinion. You guys know me, cheapskate all the way. So if he does slide into past the 4th, I think that'd be a steal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving along here. Let's see what else we got on Twitter. We had I want to say there was another prospect. Here we go. I went ahead and unveiled the poll question that we had, and people did not like it at all. Of course they wouldn't. I said with 91% of the votes, the people have chosen player 1, Carrington Valentine, over player 2, Jair Alexander. Jacob, I know you wasn't on the show when we did this, but I put a tweet out, and I said, which cornerback would you prefer to have on the Packers roster in 2025? Player 1 only allowed a 69 passer rating and 8.7 yards per target, and his cap hit was $1 million. The other player allowed a 77.6 passer rating with 8.1 yards per target, and his cap hit $25 million.
Things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
It's fun to do that, to remove the name and say, here's what they did on the field, right? One person I did have to laugh out loud. They responded and said, well, that guy's obviously getting paid $25 million for a reason. I want him. I'm like, okay, God, that's a great way of thinking.
I'll take the guy with better stats for $1 million.
Right. I mean, because again, look at what you could do with the remainder of that. Now, obviously, the information that was not in the tweet was what's their whole career looked like, right? But to me, you've also, if you're going to include that, you got to include the fact that he's played less than 50% of the snaps the last 3 years. Is that not important too, right? So, again, it's not to say I would pick Jair Alexander over Carrington Valentine. I'm simply saying we got to stop pretending like Jai is dominant, and we got to stop pretending like Carrington just sucks at football, because both are not true at the moment anyway. So, it's just interesting to kind of look at those things. Prince in the chat says Farmer would have had Jared Verse and Braden Fisk ahead of him at Florida State. Must have been tough to break through. And that's the thing too, is like with his, maybe he had limited snaps. I don't know. And I want to say someone said he was highly recruited coming out of high school. I could be wrong there. You would think coming in spell of those guys, he would have had higher PFF grades. You know what I mean? Like he would have been able to kind of take advantage if that was the case. There's kind of multiple ways you can look at that. But yeah, I understand what you're saying there too, Prince, for sure. So again, Carrington Valentine upsetting the cart there. Yeah, it's just it's fun to do that from time to time for sure. I think we're all caught up. Actually, we got a couple other things that I hit here. This was interesting. You know, we've shared our big board quite a bit. And Andy, the Twitter account that I was just promoting, he said this is his top 5 on their board. Okay, all of them have top 5 grades. Travis Hunter, number 1, cornerback. Number 2, edge defender Abdul Carter. Number 3, defensive tackle Mason Graham. Number 4, running back Ashton Gianti. And number 5, guard Will Campbell. Some list him as a tackle, others list him as a guard. Either way, probably got some versatility there. So. And he's even got comp players, which I really appreciate that he does that. He's comping Travis Hunter to Champ Taylor, Abdul Carter to Micah Parsons, Mason Graham to Christian Wilkins, Ashton Gianti to LaDainian Tomlinson, and then Will Campbell to David DeCastro. So what I did was I went through and actually kind of compared and contrast with ours. We had 4 of those 5 in our top 5 there. Travis Hunter 1, Abdul Carter 2, Ashton Gianti 3, Mason Graham 4. But you'll notice that Will Campbell is actually, I want to say he's in the 7 or 8. I think the 8 spot for us, so a little bit lower there. Go ahead, Jacob. Do you have something?
No.
Okay, go. All right. So wanted to kind of compare those top 5 lists. Obviously, Andy's a guy that spends a lot of time watching tape, college tape, and ranking these players. So we're those elite players we keep talking about, they seem to be elite. Everything points to them being elite. And obviously we're talking about Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Ashton Gianti, and Mason Graham. But yeah.
Good morning, Afam. Nice to see you too. J. Cole confirms that Farmer was a 4-star recruit coming out.
Got it. Okay, cool. So maybe not a top prospect, but definitely 4 stars considered a pretty solid prospect for sure. Another thing here real quick, Dane Brugler had put a tweet out, and I'd said almost double the number of defensive tackles invited to the combine compared to last year. As Dane Brugler pointed out, a reminder how loaded this defensive line class is. Defensive tackles invited to last year's combine, there were only 25. This year, there's 41. Dang. So this is not only is it loaded on the the first round side, on the upper side of the draft, but also it's very, very deep. So shouldn't have any problem landing a defensive tackle or 2 if that's a need on your team. And you guys know we've been pretty vocal. We feel like that's something we need to shore up for the future, because I think there's a fairly reasonable chance, Jacob, that Kenny Clark will not be here next year. I think that's definitely on the table unless he's willing to take a huge pay cut because that cap hit's going to jump tremendously.
Yeah. And I hate saying that, but I'm kind of ready for it. And
You don't say that.
Yeah, I don't ever like dogging a Packer, especially one that's been around multiple contracts. When we look at the numbers compared to what we paid this man, I just don't understand how we can keep doing it. And then it stinks too because I was a big fan of Wyatt, of Brooks, of Wooden, of Slayton. It just seems like for whatever reason we're not quite hitting them out of the park with the interior D-line picks. And I still have a lot of hope for those guys. And if Kenny comes back, I'm going to have hope for Kenny too. But at this point, it kind of feels like we're beating our head against the wall and wondering why our head hurts.
Exactly. And when we lay out the combine schedule here, here's what to expect, guys. It's going to be Monday, February the 28th. So we're, 13 days away. It's going to be the tight ends, the quarterbacks. I'm assuming WO stands for wide out. I don't know why they didn't go wide receiver, but they said wide out. They're going to have their registration, pre-exam, orientation, and interviews on that Monday. So many people are like, okay, they're not actually running or doing anything that day. True, but you're gonna get leaks of which teams met with them on the interviews, and that information is vital to the draft board. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, the orientation, the pre-exam, you'll probably get some of the measurables coming out, and then of course on Tuesday, March the 1st, you'll have the general medical exam for the tight ends, quarterbacks, and wideouts, along with potential special studies and interviews again. And then also on that same day, you got the offensive linemen and the running backs are going to go through the previously mentioned steps there with registration, pre-exam, orientation, and interviews. Wednesday, they'll continue to have those positions that are already there, meeting with teams and things like that with the interviews and the media. And now you'll have the defensive line and linebackers start the first step in the process. Thursday, March the 3rd, you'll have the defensive backs, place kickers, and special team players, I'm assuming is what that is, will do the first step in the process. And then, of course, Friday will be their departure from Indianapolis, the first group of positions. So what you got is like this cascading effect. The tight ends, quarterbacks, and wideouts will go first, then the offensive line and running backs, then the defensive line and linebackers, then the defensive backs, place kickers, and special teamers will come in. So essentially what you're looking at is interviewing all the formal stuff, right? And then it looks like starting on Thursday, March the 3rd, is when you'll get the tight ends, quarterbacks, and wideouts start doing everything. Measurements, bench press, on-field workout, and they leave on Friday. So everyone else is kind of one day behind. So offensive line running back on Friday, March the 4th, will do all of their combine drills, and they'll depart the following day. And then on Saturday, you're going to get the defensive line and linebackers. And then, of course, on Sunday, you'll get the defensive backs, place kickers, and special teamers. Does that make sense how they kind of roll those guys through? And
it says 2022. Is this accurate for 2025?
You got to be kidding me. Jacob, why do you always do this to me?
I just want to be sure we're not giving out.
I thought I pulled it from Dame Brugler's account, but this might be one that was attached incorrectly. Let me see here. I know I've got the screenshot or the download from Dame Brugler's account. So, yeah, this is probably way off then. Yeah, thank you for grabbing that. Glad we went through all that information for no damn reason, right? That's wonderful. Jacob, that's why you're not allowed on the show, dude.
I'm sorry.
This one was kind of hard to read. Here
we go. That one says 2025.
And see, what's crazy is as I was looking at that, I'm going, why would they do the premium positions first? Look how this one's structured, right?
Yeah.
So they're actually going to go place kicker, defensive line, and linebacker first, D-back and tight end second, running back, quarterback, and wideout third, and then offensive line last. And it looks like that's going to start Sunday, February the 23rd. Ooh. So pretty much around the same date. Obviously, the days of the week we're not matching up, but they're going to do – it looks like they've got the same process here, right? The on-field workout. They're actually going to do the on-field workout. This is interesting. Separate from the bench press and broadcast interviews and then their departure, obviously. So that's interesting. It looks like you're going to get – there's the kicking workout on Wednesday, February 26th. So you're going to get 2 days, it looks like. Am I looking at that right, guys? On-field workout as well as like your your other things. So yeah, it looks like they're stretching it out, and rightfully so. So the main event, like we'll start getting information filing in on Sunday, February 23rd. And then everything will really start to ramp up on Monday. You won't get your first official workout starting until Wednesday, the 26th, which I like this a lot better because obviously with the measurements and on-field workout and then the bench press and departure, the running back, quarterback, and wideouts, which is really going to drive the class. You know how quarterbacks always drive the class here every year. It's going to be kind of over the course of the weekend. Which is the defensive line, though, the only thing that sucks here is if they do it during the day, and they typically do, I don't think they do it in the evening. That means that Thursday and Friday is going to be your defensive line and linebackers. So we'll probably just be updating everything as we go along there, right? So there you go, Coach Lynn. Can't wait to see place kicker, bench press. I have a feeling you're probably not going to contribute, right?
Look at what Prince says. He goes, "There's one, still one, and still one." All right, we got one.
And here comes the spotter. Exactly. So anything you guys want to add to that? Obviously, we're getting cranked up here, and it's going to be next week. We're going to get some combine information going in. We'll start to get the RAS scores, kind of hitting the list.
Ooh, Goody's favorite. The RAS scores.
Right.
Let them cook.
Somebody remind me what Daniel Whelan's RAS was. It was in the nines, wasn't it? It was like damn near perfect. So,
dude,
that's hilarious that a punter has that high of an RAS score and he ends up being a great punter. And you'd love to see it, right? Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's going to be fun, man. Defensive line and linebacker, obviously positions of needs for us. So we'll have our ear to the streets that day there with probably it'd be Thursday the 27th and then Friday the 28th. And then, of course, defensive back, we know they're in the market for a corner. They may draft the tight end. That could happen. I'm not ruling that out. That'll happen on Friday and Saturday. Then running back, quarterback, and wideout. They've scheduled that main event on the weekend. That's a smart move there. So we'll probably do a live watch party on Saturday, March the 1st. That makes sense.
Nice.
So, all right, cool. Anything else you guys want to add there to the combine schedule? Anything grab your attention?
I mean, I just think it's crazy that we're a week away from starting to get combine results. Basically, after that comes the draft. After that comes, the off season doesn't feel as void and long as it used to, for sure. If anything, it's almost, it's almost a lot of information. It's just fun, like sections. We talked about it. Obviously, we didn't want the season to end the way it did, but to y'all's credit and to the fans and the viewers and whatever we were right back on it. And before you know it, now we're right into the next rotation. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was awesome last year, man. The draft was a blast. Free agency was a lot of fun. I'm going to do everything in my power to have my schedule freed up like we did last year. If you guys don't remember, it was the day of free agency. We did a morning show, and then I think it was around noon maybe that news broke. Xavier McKinney was being sought by the Packers, so we just immediately went live, did a surprise live show, and it was a lot of fun doing it that way. I'm going to try to work the schedule out before we can do that again for sure. So. All right, there's your combine information. Drew D, when is free agency? It's got to be coming up. It's actually is it March 10th? There it is right there. Yeah.
12th.
March 10th, free agency negotiation period begins. So it begins on March the 10th, but they can't sign until the 12th. That's what they call the legal tampering period. So, March the 10th, and then, of course, on the 12th, like Tim mentioned, is when they can actually sign. So, it's going to get cranked up quick there as well. So, it's right around the corner, but we have this odd time frame where we're draft talk, then it's a little bit of free agency, then we got to get back to the draft because the combine, right? And as soon as the combine wraps up, we talk free agency again, and then free agency kicks off, boom, it's done. Then we got to come back to the draft for the actual draft, so it gets a little bit wonky in that regard. But that's everything we had on Twitter. Now, since we're talking free agent, and Drew brung it up here, Tim, who's the big free agent wide receiver everybody talking about this year, man?
That T. Higgins, that guy from Cincinnati.
This guy
wide receiver 2 to Jamar Chase. Yeah, that guy.
I thought you were going to say wide receiver 2 to Jaden Higgins. I was going to let you had that one queued up. No, but he's been the big talk, right? And in the way people were talking, I just assumed that he didn't have an eligibility of franchise tag, of like them being able to hit him with another franchise tag. Well, combed through this article by PFF, and it was talking about franchise tag candidates for all 32 NFL teams entering the 2025 NFL offseason. And surprisingly, T. Higgins, they can hit him with another franchise tag, believe it or not. And you'll notice,
you are going to see a pissed off receiver if they do that.
Oh my God. And so here's what's crazy, right? Like I immediately thought there was 2 years that he was kind of upset and holding out because he wanted a contract. Turns out the rumbling started his last year of his rookie deal. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. So he plays under that last year of his rookie deal, right? And then, of course, you go into the first year or whatever, the first year that you can actually hit him with the franchise tag. They didn't give him a contract again, hit him with the franchise tag. So he does have one more year that they can hit him with the franchise tag. And if you look, most of these teams are going to say none on him, but there are a few. The first one is T. Higgins, and here's what the article says. It says 2024 PFF grade 88.6, projected franchise tag value is $26.1 million. Okay, and that's fully guaranteed if they hit him with the franchise tag. He said Higgins is without a doubt one of the NFL's premier receivers. His 88.6 PFF overall grade this past season, while playing on the franchise tag, was a career high. He directly contributed to one of the NFL's most lethal passing attacks. Should Higgins hit the free agent market, he would rank as the top available free agent. He just played the 2024 season on a $21.8 million franchise tag, so it will cost the Bengals a pretty penny to use the tag on him a second time. The exclusive franchise tag would equate to 120% of his previous year's salary, landing him north of $26 million. So that was something else that the CBA put in, that if you hit him with the second franchise tag, they tack on another 20% of the previous year's value. Okay.
So maybe I was wrong. He wouldn't be that pissed, I guess. It's some good money.
Right. You know, it's just, I don't know. It seems at this point, Tim, I think I would lean toward he would be pissed because he's wanting that long-term stability. Like, yes, 26 is a lot of money, but if he's going to sign a contract extension, you're probably looking, I don't even know what the guaranteed money is.
They're like, hey, T, you want to play on the tag? And he's like,
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Exactly.
Is his money guaranteed if he gets hurt under a franchise tag?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fully guaranteed.
I mean, like Tim said, I wouldn't be mad at that. Like, oh, shucks, I can only get $26 million this year, and then next year, I mean, I understand if he breaks his hip or whatever, that he's going into that next year, it's going to be scraping pennies, but it wouldn't be the end of the world for me. I mean, shoot, I'd be ashamed to say what I would do for $26 million.
As a matter of fact, you come over to the office. So sure. Here's the thing: like, there's two sides of that story, right? If $26 million, some people make it sound like, man, he's getting shrewd. They need to commit to him. Like, stop pretending like we can't survive off $26 million, right? But at the same time, if he gets injured, right, the difference there is, let's say a 4-year deal worth, I don't know, $100 million with $70 million fully guaranteed. The difference is $26 million or $70 million, right? That's and then you got to look at practical guarantee and actual guarantee and all that stuff that's in the fine print. But yeah, I can understand why you want a new deal over that, but I also understand what you guys are saying too, man. $26 million. I could buy a lot of cannolis for $26 million. So it says, although Cincinnati has the cap space to facilitate another Higgins tag this cycle, upcoming extension talks for Trey Hendrickson and Jamar Chase, as well as a laundry list of roster needs, could make a tag and or extension unfeasible. So that's why many people think he is going to hit the open market there, obviously. So we'll see what happens there with T. If there's anything else attached to that, Jacob, that you got marked, you just fired away there in the chat. And
it's not quite with T. Higgins, but I was wondering what your thoughts are. Prince mentioned this guy, an Aldi level free agent wide receiver with good size, could be Nick Westbrook. I can't never, is it Akeen, something like that, from Tennessee. I've seen spurts of him where he looked promising, and I definitely think Tennessee. I don't know what that room's going to look like going into this year. They've got a lot of rebuilding to do over there, like they do most years. But he is somebody that I've watched flashes of, and you're like, oh, okay. Akine. Okay, Blake B. Akine. Nick Westbrook Akine. All right.
Here's his PFF grades throughout his career: 64, 68, 59, 59, 63. So if you were to just go strictly off his PFF grades, he would be probably the fourth best receiver fourth best receiver on our team, I believe. So now with Christian Watson out, he'd be the third best probably. So it depends on the price, obviously, and a lot of times these free agents where you kind of find them under the radar and you go, it's not like he graded out in the 40s, but he definitely wasn't in the 70s. You kind of look at him and go, I wonder what draft grade Goody had on him back in the day. And again, let's see, he's been in the league now that would have been the 2020 draft when he was taken. So yeah, Goody would have been the GM. So, what kind of grade did Goody have on him? That's the big question there. So 6'2", 211, though, decent size out of Indiana. So Tim, I know, would probably add him to some kind of list over there with a little bit of height on him, obviously. Scrolling on down, a bunch of teams, no potential franchise players. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers doesn't have anything. It says securing Jordan Love to a long-term deal last July took Green Bay's most significant expiring contract in 2025 off the to-do list. No other Packer player slated to hit free agency comes close to warranting such a sizable investment the franchise tag entails. And then the next player is Trey Smith, guard from the Kansas City Chiefs. And the reason we're listing these guys off, everybody, is these are people that are showing up as some of the top free agents available this year, but there's still a chance they could get franchise tagged. And obviously we're 3 days away, I believe, Tim, from the franchise tag actually being able to be applied. And I want to say you got about a month for them to do that. They don't have to do it on the 18th, but that's the first day they can do it. So
yes.
Trey Smith, guard out of Kansas City, 2024 PFF grade was 76.6. Projected franchise tag value is $23 million. It says currently touted as PFF's second-ranked free agent, Trey Smith is slated for a sizable payday. Considering that all offensive line positions are calculated in the franchise tag figure, we rarely see interior linemen receive the designation. The exclusive franchise tag would land north of $23 million, making Smith the highest paid interior lineman in the NFL. The Chiefs aren't flush with cap space, making this an outside option that would take some maneuvering to facilitate, but Smith is undoubtedly a player worthy of the investment, having earned a 72-plus PFF overall grade in each of his first 4 seasons. So you're seeing a lot of consistency there in that regard. Another player, I don't think the Packers would be interested in signing him. Obviously, I think they feel pretty good about their offensive line. We need to add depth, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to go get a player like this and he doesn't play center, I guess you could look at it like kicking Elton to center and sign someone like Trey Smith to play guard in Elton's place. That feels like a pretty good replacement for Elton, that hole you're going to leave behind. I just don't see them doing that. Again, I think that their roster model that they like to build around is paying 2 offensive linemen decent money, right? And right now you've got Zach Tom's up for a contract. Elton's already getting paid, and Rashid's probably going to there's a decent chance he could get a pretty good contract as well. So what do you guys think about Trey Smith? Would you be all over that if they don't franchise him, or do you think?
Nah. I don't think anybody's super high on Chiefs O-linemen after that ass whooping they received.
Good point.
All right. Because again, man, the last taste that we have in our mouth as Packer fans is the Eagles doing that with us up front. But I'm telling you right now, our offensive linemen held up better than the Chiefs did.
Yep.
I believe that with everything in me. Now, maybe it was Jordan's ability to escape a little bit more. And obviously, he had the interceptions. But, yeah, that's kind of how I see that. Moving along, the next one is a safety, Javon Holland. Obviously, we're not in the safety market. We'll just briefly mention him. That's a safety out of Miami. His PFF grade's a 63. They're saying the franchise tag's worth $18.3 million. That would be wild if they slap the tag on him there. Minnesota Vikings. This one's interesting. It kind of applies to the Packers. Sam Darnold, PFF grade 82, franchise tag value $39.6 million for a Sam Darnold, right? They obviously drafted J.J. McCarthy. I won't read the entire article there. What do you guys think about that? What do you think is going to happen with Sam Darnold? They're going to let him test the market. They're going to hit him with the franchise. They're going to move on to J.J. McCarthy. Or, and you guys are going to hate me for this, I'm not going to lie, man. I think it would be freaking awesome if Aaron Rodgers signed with Minnesota and just up that whole damn rivalry again, just like back with Brett Favre. I was one of the fans that when Brett signed with Minnesota, I wasn't like, oh, this sucks. I was like, let's kick their ass. Let's show him what he's missing over here. Didn't work the first year, but you get a ring the second year. How wild would it be if Aaron Rodgers completed that entire cycle that Brett did? What are the chances?
You don't say that. Yeah, you don't say that.
Hall of Fame quarterback, leaves the Packers for the Jets and then ends up with the Vikings, and it would happen 2 times. That's just crazy to me. Anyway, you guys hate it, huh?
I hate it. I hate it.
Fred
McFarley is kind of thinking more along the lines of what I was thinking. Darnold to the Las Vegas Raiders is my guess. Carroll likes him, and he needs a guy. That's for sure. That's what I think. And then, I mean, the Vikings are doing some. I don't know. They're building quite the. Because they still got Danny Dimes, right? And they've got that other guy, Jared, or something like that.
Stop calling him Danny Dimes. That guy hasn't thrown a dime in his career.
All right, he's Danny Pennies. All right, he's
Danny Bitcoin.
Danny, he wishes, man. He wishes. But I think that they really do believe in JJ McCarthy. Some of my Viking fans, they seem to. I think they're delusional because they seem to like not care about losing Darnold. But dude, Darnold had. You can't tell me that's just a flash in the pan. He showed that he can perform and do it at a very high level. And obviously he's thrown to one of, if not the best wide receiver in the game. So I'm sure that makes it a little bit easier there. But I mean, the guy won 14 games this year. That's crazy. I'd like to see a stat of any NFL quarterback that won 14 games in 1 year and the next year didn't have a team. You know what I mean? Like, Danny Dogecoin. There you go.
He said Danny Dogecoin. That's the more accurate one, right, Tim? Tim, why would you not want to see Aaron Rodgers in Minnesota? I'm going to go ahead and kill the camera and walk off for a second. Go ahead, sir.
Do I really have to explain it? I mean,
please do, please.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get Tim to rant this morning here. It's
not going to happen. I don't even want to address this with comment actually, but I mean, it's disgusting enough already that we had to see him, attempt to play for the Jets. So no, I don't want him back in the North. Not at all. He can come here and be a quarterback coach or something if he wants, but I don't want to see him in Viking purple. It makes me sick.
I understand, man.
Still traumatized from Brett Favre.
Completely understand. All right. Moving along, any other players there? We didn't really address the whole Sam Darnold thing much. Tim, what do you think about Sam Darnold there? Do you think they bring him back in Minnesota? Do you think they let him walk? What do you think's going to happen?
See, that's interesting, because like Jacob said, he had a pretty damn good season. Kind of crapped the bed there in the playoffs, but they've got JJ McCarthy. I don't know if they're ready to hand him the keys yet. So there is an argument for keeping him. I just I don't know. I think there's some logic that he may in fact end up somewhere else next year. We'll see. I don't know how aggressive they're going to be trying to keep him around.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving along, see if there's any other players. That might be all of them, though. I think it actually is. It is. So there's all your potential franchise. Well, we have 3-4 players there, I believe. 2 of which are listed as the top free agents that could be available in T. Higgins and obviously the guard there out of Kansas City. So I don't know. We'll see here in a couple of days when the franchise tags start to break loose. And again, don't expect it to be something where they're just flying off the shelves right off the bat. Right? It might be a little bit before teams decide to hit them with that tag. Maybe they'll try to hold the tag over their head a little bit, the possibility of it, to try to get a cheaper deal for the team. Jacob, do you have that list that you wanted to hit on, man? We can hit that real quick and rapid fire.
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool. I've got PFF ready, so I'll give you a grade as you go through.
Okay, perfect. So this is from Fansided through MSN by Brian Sampson about 20 hours ago. Just basically talks about how the Green Bay Packers are in the market for a top-tier free agent in 2025 that could also find some value in bargain bin. You guys know I love that. With an under-the-radar type signing. Goes on to talk about Brian Gutekunst, about how he's brought over some guys in the past that a lot of people weren't looking at, more like obviously Rasul and Campbell and Nix and a lot of these guys. So anyways, number 1, Will Hernandez, the offensive guard. So if you want to pull him up, it says the Packers' interior offensive line got exposed to the wild card loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, when Elton Jenkins left with an injury, if that game made anything clear, it's that the Green Bay needs reinforcements up front. And I believe that we've all talked about that quite a bit. Hernandez is a 2018 second-round pick by the Giants. He spent the last 3 seasons with Arizona, logging 91 career starts. He's been a solid presence at guard, offering both physicality and toughness in the trenches. And basically, it'd be more of kind of a stopgap / backup type position, I believe, is what they're kind of labeling this gentleman as. But he supposedly has had really good pass rush grades his whole career. I'm sorry, pass blocking grades his whole career.
Okay. He's not showing up on the guard list unless I'm overlooking him here. Let me try tackle. Maybe he's listed as, I want to say, was he not one? No, Will Hernandez wasn't. I was trying to think there was one guy from Arizona that was listed as a potential center, but I don't think that's Will. There's Jonah Williams, unless I'm overlooking him here, man. There's Kelvin Beachum.
I know if you type his name up in the search bar, it'll pull him up with his grades.
Yeah,
that's how I
was
found him.
trying to get him so we could see where he ranked amongst everybody else, But for whatever reason, unless I'm overlooking it, yeah, he's definitely not popping up here on that list. There's Isaiah Adams again. All right, so we'll just type it in. I wonder why he's not popping up there. Was he hurt or something?
I think he did get hurt halfway through this season, if that was his big. There we go. Hernandez suffered a season-ending injury in early 2024, which will likely cost him a big payday in free agency. That could also make him an ideal bargain signing for Green Bay.
So he finished with a 69.3 is where he finished. So if we were to go back to that list now, we could kind of compare and contrast here. Where was 69.3 put him? Again, minimal snaps. That'd put him around the 22 spot, something like that. So, yeah, not horrible, right?
Above Elton.
Yeah. What's that?
I said he'd be a few spots above Elton.
Above Elton, yeah, 65.5. I think people just assume Elton, played great last year. I don't think he was bad. I want to say he was one of the few guards that had. He was right at the top of the list for sacks allowed, in a good way. Yeah.
What was that PFF grade on him again?
69.
Are you talking about Elton Jenkins?
Elton.
65, yeah.
65%.
65%. That's what I love that we never play that, but when Jacob's on here, we play it. I love it. We just to bother him. All right, who's next, Jake?
Tyrell Dodson, linebacker. This goes on to say that due to adding talent at the linebacker position, Quay Walker remains inconsistent. And then it talks about how obviously we got a struck gold with Edgerrin Cooper. Talks about how Isaiah McDuffie and Eric Wilson probably did play significant snaps last season, but both are unrestricted free agents who could be looking for pay raises. They probably won't offer. So it says that we have a gap to fill in the rotation. I believe, if I remember correctly, this guy was good in coverage. I'm sorry?
What team?
I'm not 100% sure. I thought it was maybe.
You said Tyrell Dodson, right?
Dodson, yes.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just trying to. I can look for the team logos to find them a little bit easier, But here we go.
Got a 1-year deal, yeah.
Got him right here. So he's tied he was the 34th highest graded linebacker out of Miami.
I think his thing was his coverage grade. Yeah, check it out. 82.9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, he had a 67.3 PFF grade and an 82.9 coverage grade. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad addition at all right there,
Just for some rotation. I still am interested to see how Hopper is going to do and if he's going to do anything. But, as far as just having a coverage guy, I thought that maybe was a little bit intriguing. Look at where he's around. You got guys like Shaq Thompson, Roquan Smith, Alex Anzalone, Drew Tranquil. So, it's worth looking at. I thought this guy was a little bit more intriguing to me. Robert,
before you move on, look at this real quick. Look up here at the top. Let's just go to the top right here. Look at this guy right here. Edgerrin Cooper, 85.7. Can we just take a second and appreciate that? Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that, man.
I don't like looking above him at number 4. That makes me
or in Burks.
Or in Burks. What is going on?
Yeah, that's wild, man. Go ahead, though. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's interesting there. Robert Spillane, linebacker.
Okay. And he was with the –
I thought he was the Saints, maybe.
Is he the Saints this year? Okay. Let's see. We're looking –
Who?
Dump Truck Spillane is who we're looking for. Robert
Dump Truck Spillane.
That's his nickname is Dump Truck, yeah.
One of them guys
that 31.
31?
He sounds like a fighter in those redneck brawls there, Clayton.
Look at that run defense grade, though.
I'm telling you, if I go to the redneck brawl down here in Tennessee, I will illegally record from my seat and send it to you guys because it looks like Go ahead, Jacob. Number 31, best free agent at 68.4. Talk to me.
Yeah, so he was in Vegas this last year, 87.3 run defense grade, which that's what jumps off the page to me. And I thought we made a good step in our run defense performance this last year, almost to the point where I don't remember the Packers being that either one great on the offensive side with the rushing the ball, and I felt like we did take a big step with defending the run. The stats may not be as great as we want them to be, but anyways, if we could add a guy like Spillane, I think he's moderately young. Basically, it says Spillane's production over the last 2 seasons is among the best in the league. He has 114 solo tackles, 66 stops, 21 tackles for a loss or no gain, all rank top 10 among linebackers. And it goes on to say if he's the only player in the top 15, and he's the only player in the top 15 of any of those categories with a missed tackle rate of 5% or lower. I mean,
Really?
That to me, it says if the Packers want a high floor, dependable linebacker to stabilize the defense, Spillane would be a strong addition. You have the Raiders connection. I don't know, man. That just to me, that one was the one that actually jumped off the page and was like, dang, that's a dollar store type productive player. And I don't know if you looked over his career rankings, but I want to say that he's been pretty. He's not flashing like he's hitting 90 grades or anything like that. But I want to say that he's been, not great, but.
2023 was his best year at 77.1. He actually picked Jordan Love off.
That's great.
Look at the neck on that guy. Holy cow.
Thick.
Dang, dump truck Spillane out there, man. He's a dog. He's just when I say he's a dog, he's a gritty player. And the reason I know him as dump truck Spillane is Pat McAfee talked about him a lot. How on their show, and he made how they would do the in the trenches with AQ Shipley, and they'll do good D bad D with Darius J. Butler. They mentioned Robert Spillane in 2023 multiple times. So hard hitting linebacker, like you said, Jacob. That's pretty much a sure tackler. Sounds like so.
Okay, and this was one that I thought was I shouldn't say I thought it's the only real name that I recognized that jumped off. Paulson Adebo, cornerback.
All right, what team? You got a team or not?
It doesn't list their team. I want to say he might be on the Raiders as well, possibly the Saints.
You said Paulson was the first name, right?
Yep.
Let's see if we can find him here. Again, we can look him up by name, but I like to do it like this so we can kind of see where they land.
He did have a season-ending injury, so he's probably not going to be listed on here.
Yeah, I've got the minimum ignored right now, I believe.
Okay.
But if he didn't play at all, that's different, right? Paulson Adebo.
The article goes on to say there are high-end options available as far as the cornerbacks go with DJ Reed, Asante Samuel Jr., but there are also solid bargain bin players who can help. Paulson Adebo is one of them. At just 25 years old, Adebo hits the Brian Gutekunst age profile perfectly. He's still ascending, meaning that over past accolades is something that Brian Gutekunst has consistently prioritized. He says before a midseason injury ended in 2024, Adebo was playing some of the best football of his career. That injury will likely lower his market value, but it goes on to say he's got cornerback one potential if everything breaks right. In just 7 games last season, he snagged 3 interceptions following up a 4-interception campaign in 23. That kind of playmaking ability would be a huge boost for a defense looking to generate more game-changing plays.
Yeah, so he played in 7 weeks, 73, 54, 79, 37, 69, 57, 59. He finished the season at a 63.1. His career grades are 60, 49, 78, and then 63. So on 948 snaps there in 2023, pretty damn good year, man. Coverage grade at 80.5. That's an interesting prospect. 6'1" as well. And like you said, Goody DiCaprio right there in that ballpark, being a 25-year-old, right? So
yeah.
All right, cool. You got anybody else?
Last guy was Nate Hobbs, cornerback. I do not know much about this dude whatsoever. When I looked up his grades, I wasn't very impressed, but they go on to basically talk about how Hobbs has played primarily in the slot, which allow Valentine and Nixon to stay on the outside, all that kind of stuff. He thrives in aggressive attacking roles. He likes to blitz, and he's really good at crushing down on the edge against running backs. So they're saying he's one of those guys that brings a little more toughness to the secondary, which, again, that's something I like. He, again, is 25 years old. So that's, again, the preferred Goody DiCaprio age range there.
You say Nate Hobbs, Jacob? Nate
Hobbs, yes, sir.
He's a pure slot corner, you're basically, right?
That's what they say, yeah. He said he could be looking for a short team deal to prove himself as a full-time starter, and if that's the case, the Packers should jump at an opportunity to add him into the rotation.
Yeah, there we go. Put him behind Bullard.
There he is. And that's, again, another Vegas guy.
Yeah, a lot of Raiders being linked to the Packers, huh?
I mean, look at him, though. He's had some years.
Yeah, his rookie year, holy cow, man.
Oh my gosh,
894
can't tackle.
80.1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Not
Man.
tackle, man. We don't need another corner that can't tackle. I'll tell you that.
You got him basically, and to me, it looks like he's one of those guys that in 2021 he kind of peaked right out of the gate. Bang, he's looking like he's probably somewhere around a 65 on average on his career there. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Tim. I mean, the tackle grade it got worse every year too, didn't it? 54,
Yep.
53, 42, 37. If it'd be different if you're on the boundary, you kind of roll your eyes at it, but being in the slot, if he is a slot defender, and I think that's what you guys said in terms of his snaps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, snap count, it doesn't show. Yeah, slot, basically, right? Played a little safety there as well, right? Strong safety. So slot corner, strong safety, slot. Yeah, you're right too, Tim. There, it's pretty much Javon Bullard's position. Right?
Yeah, that's not a good look. It's one of the reasons we love Bullard so much is he's a tackling machine, you know.
It's true, man. His coverage struggle, but man, he really adds to that run defense, especially
Tackling few.
What's that?
Tackling few.
Tackling few.
I love that movie so much.
Appreciate that message there, Tim. I agree. All right. So is there anything else you guys want to hit on as we wrap up? Anything at all?
What is going on?
You're what's going on. Your message, and then I.
Oh yeah, I know. I can't help it.
Get me over here, man. I'm trying to be as professional as an unprofessional person can be, and you guys in that private chat get me every time. Jake, if you got anything else, man, thanks for bringing those to the table for sure.
No, I mean, out of that group, I definitely would think that maybe Paulson and Debo would be the one that I'd be most excited about if we were to land him, maybe than that thick neck Bois Spillane. Get him in the mix. Freaking rhinoceros.
There you go. So, and again, man, when we look at the positions of need, in my opinion, you guys may disagree. I think you might have 2 to 3 cornerback spots you can fill. Okay, you're going to have 3 offensive lineman spots to fill if Josh Myers does not re-sign. All right, one of which I think could be starting money, like high end money. With cornerback, if Jair does not return, I think you got obviously. You're going to have money to spend there with 1 high-priced corner and 2 backups. Linebacker, 2 backups. Defensive tackle, I think you got to go try to find a legit starting 3-tech, whether it plays this year or for the future. You got to do that. And then, obviously, with Christian Watson being out, you may be willing to spend a little bit of money on a higher-end wide receiver, whether it's through draft capital or, like I said, in free agency. So, you got plenty of spots here to add a free agent or 2. You guys know I've been pretty vocal. I wouldn't mind to see Drew Dahlman at center added to the mix. We've looked at several different free agents that might make sense. If you go wide receiver, Godwin would be my guy personally over Higgins. And, throw him into the mix there. Milton Williams, a defensive tackle, he's been thrown around a lot. I don't think that would be a horrible signing. It's just how much are you going to pay him? Are you going to overpay for good? I don't think he's a great defensive lineman. That's just me personally. I think he's very good, though. So you're kind of teetering in that area as well. Josh Sweat's been mentioned a couple times, right? To me, I'm not as big on him. We compared Josh Sweat to LVN by removing the names, and almost everybody chose LVN over Josh Sweat without knowing the names. So, I kind of think we move forward there. But all right, Tim, you got anything, Bob, other than getting me off track down the stretch here?
Holmes says Spillane has steroid neck.
Hey, that's an MD in there.
That's a real doctor, so I'm gonna trust his judgment here.
I love how we reacted like, oh man, that's a doctor saying, and Jacob says, good. We need more of that on the team. Get some roids in the house.
This one from Ben was good though. What do you think of this? Packers will have to go wide receiver in free agency, then go D tackle and corner in the draft. Seems
D tackle, it's so deep in the draft. I have a hard time believing they're going to pass up on drafting a D tackle.
Yep.
Cornerback, I think I disagree a little bit, Ben, just because when you get in that second to third round, I find a hard time finding someone there that I'm like, that's the dude. D tackle every round you can go, yeah, I'd be okay with that. So D tackle definitely on board. Corner, I'm kind of like,
you'd probably
I'm getting to the
rather
point
have
now.
Right?
I hope Ja returns. I hope they restructure and make it a little more palatable for the Packers. And I hope he's healthy and we get the old Ja back. But I've been saying that for freaking 2.5 years now. I have not been saying that about Kenny. That's why I think let's go get a 3-tech, and yeah. Brett McFarley, AFAM's lips move when he reads the comments. So there you go. All right, that's it, guys. Appreciate your all's time. We'll be back tonight. Tonight we're going to dive into prospects that have been linked to the Packers. We can sort our board now by those. We'll keep it in order of grade. Like, all right, here's the overall value of each of these players, but it'll be sorted by, we can go down in consecutive order. Here are the players that have been linked to the Packers, and we've got 70 so far. 70 Packers or prospects that have been somewhat linked to the Packers, where they met with them at the Honolulu Bowl, or met with them in general. Easton Butler's done just a phenomenal job keeping up with that. That's where we've gathered that information from and kind of cross-confirmed across the board. We'll hit that, and then we'll talk about the top free agents according to SpoTrack here in 2025, which just simply goes off their previous average annual value. And you guys know that's where the league sees these guys. If they were willing to pay them big bucks, we'll go in that order down the list. That would probably prove what the league thinks are the most valuable free agents. So we'll see you guys tonight for that, 7 p.m. Central. Hit that like button on the way out. Appreciate everybody's time. We'll see you tonight. Go Pack, go.
And we go.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.